Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN FM, your soulful sanctuary for celebrating love, oneness, connection, and of course the human spirit. I'm Lisa LeRose, and I am joined by my incredible co-host, Michael J. Russ, and we're here to spark some deep connections within you. And I'm so excited, Michael, because you always inspire me, and you always spark those deep connections within me. So I want to welcome you and see how your day's going.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Ditto for me too. We have such a simpatico going between the two of us energetically, which is I've enjoyed for many years. And my day's going awesome. I always have an awesome day. It was beautiful this morning. Didn't seem to be as humid. Played with the. I'm prodded to always play with little Cobalt, who, gets up first thing in the morning. As soon as he wakes up, it's like, okay, I'm ready to go now. So I never went to sleep. I want to play now. And I'm like, hang on just a second. I need to go meditate for about 45 minutes and think and stuff. And no, I want to play now.
I was going to say, is there such a thing as meditation with a puppy? I'm not sure.
Well, not with the puppy. He'll have to get about 3-4 years old before we can do that, because my last corgi used to do that. I used to say meditate, and she would run up the stairs and come into my office and lay down next to my couch, and we would, she and I and the cat would all meditate together, which was really awesome. But they have to mature a little bit out of it. I want to play as soon as I get up, And but it happens. It is possible. I look forward to those kinds of days. I definitely do. How's your day going?
Oh, it's busy and blessed every day. I don't know about you, Michael, but we had Dylan Bode on last week, and there were so many things that Dylan shared that profoundly impacted me. And I think after sitting with Dylan's words for a week, it made me think about, what am I creating? What am I creating right now? What feels more urgent, more vibrant? And I've really consciously been creating and focusing on a lot of things this week, things that perhaps I've allowed other people to distract me. And you eloquently reminded me, what are you giving your power away to? And so I think this week for me, and since I had him on the show, there's sort of been a conscious act of creation in every moment. I'm looking at things with a fresh set of eyes. How about you? What were your thoughts on our time shared with Dylan?
Well, I got to tell you, first and foremost, I thought he was incredibly eloquent. That he had a deep, a good depth of spirituality that he connected with. And I don't know, I forgot to ask him whether or not he had that deep connection before he had this issue when he was in the mortgage business. But, after that, I didn't expect the interview we had. I didn't expect him to be as eloquently spiritual and so connected and so driven and so organized with regard to how he structured his day around joy and connection, his spiritual connection, how he starts his day out like that, and the creativity that is sparked as a result of that. He's tuned in. He's tuned in to where that creativity is coming from, his higher self, his guides, whatever. He's tuned into it. Then I heard his song, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't wait for him to release it, so that we can put a link out to it on Connect to Love here. We can't do it right now, but we were blessed enough to be able to hear an almost finished version of one of his songs, which to me was bloody amazing. Just amazing. I want to hear it over and over again. It's just so melodic, and his vocals are so jammy, and he's a very gifted singer and a very gifted writer, songwriter.
Absolutely. And it was very interesting because the day after the show, I had an unusually stressful day, and I'm not normally overwhelmed, and I found myself in a sense of overwhelm because of a situation. And as I was getting through it, it was interesting. I found myself humming, and I was thinking, what song am I humming? And I had only listened to his song twice.
Really?
but it was his song. And I found myself, when I recognized it, and I was singing the words, and it brought me such a sense of peace and calm, and just everything's going to be okay. It was that feeling. And I reached out to him to share that, because it was the light in the dark for me at that moment, in that time. And I think that's one of the things that I so appreciated about the opportunity to have him join us, because he was vulnerable, he was honest, he talked about his insecurities and how he worked through things, and that things were still a work in progress. And not to mention his view on life now, and how much more appreciation there was, and the people that he had an opportunity to thank. And it gave me a new appreciation, a new sense of gratitude for all of those people in my life that maybe you get busy in your day and you forget to say thank you. So, Michael, thank you. Thank you for making this time. Thank you to our audience. I mean, all of these things that I'm so grateful for. And I think that the experience that he had truly not only saved his life, but it ignited this whole fire within him to pursue his passion and his calling. And truly, it is his calling.
Yes. And he sat down. What I loved about it is he sat down with his husband. He said, and they figured it out. They were in a place where they could sit and they could talk. And they spent a couple of days figuring out how to accomplish that. Which, you think about it, and a lot of people will just won't do that. I mean, I know people who don't communicate on that level, about something so serious as, hey, I want to change my entire life, and this is what I want to do, right? I'm tired of doing this. That I'm not passionate about that. I'm not excited about that. This is the thing I'm passionate and excited about, and my creative juices and energies are moving in that direction. I've got things just coming in like crazy, right? And I have to get them down on paper. I have to get the music rolling, and that's what I love about what he did. He communicated, and it's for some people it's just so challenging to sit and communicate. I mean, I do it all the time. I'll sit down with Sandy and we'll just communicate something out, right? We'll go out to dinner and we'll sit in a place that's away from the house and away from distractions, and we'll talk about whatever it is we're going to do, the next trip or something that needs to change or whatever it is, And I can only say that the one thing we didn't do that about was getting little Cobalt, because she decided we had a dog as soon as she saw the phone number.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to the breeder, right? Okay, we got to call this number, and boom, we got a dog. Wait a minute, we going to talk about this? Oh, absolutely not. You'll love it. You want another corgi. So, but it was a beautiful thing. So much of that. That's going to be one of our more memorable shows, and I hope that our audience here at PRNFM gets to go to the podcast if you hadn't really had an opportunity, or you want to share that particular episode with your friends, your family. It is a very, very, very cool, and it's an episode that's it's going to stand out, and it's going to teach us so much.
Absolutely, and it caused me, like I said, to have that self-reflection. And so I guess this yesterday, Michael reached out and we had some different ideas. And I said, I'd really like to expand on the show that we had with Dylan, because it made me ask those questions for myself. What am I choosing to create? Is what I am creating from my soul, or is it from my fear? And then ask myself, what would I allow myself to do or become if I knew that this was the final chapter of my life? What if I had just 1 month left? And if we only had 1 month left, what if this is the final chapter? It might sound dramatic, but I think it can truly be an invitation to profound freedom. There are so many things that stop us from being our full, magnificent selves. So if we really think about what is holding us back, are there any small or large acts of creation that we're postponing because we think that there's always going to be a tomorrow? And so this final chapter mindset can act as an incredible catalyst. I think that it can dissolve the barriers, and it's sort of granting ourselves permission to be free. And I think a lot about what Bashar said on the teachings of your following your highest excitement and with no insistence on the outcome. And if this were the end, wouldn't you want to follow what truly lights you up without worrying about what comes next? What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, a very deep question, too. Very deep.
It is a deep question. It is a deep question. And I think, if anything, the conversation with him made me stop. And I started walking around my street, and I was looking at all of these quote-unquote weeds that were around, all these tiny little flowers that are in the sidewalks that are just little orange ones and purple, and then the dandelions and the other flowers that were growing in the grass that normally would be pulled as weeds. And I thought, no, you know what? They have a reason for being here. And I'm not going to pull them. I'm going to let them flourish. I think that's sort of, it just gave me a fresh set of eyes. And I thought to myself, okay, what do I want to create? What do I want to create? And I think that in that exploration, we have to give ourselves permission and to allow ourselves to really fully be present. And so there was a quote that I shared with Michael right before the show by Abraham Hicks. It says, "You're always writing your own story. The question is, are you the author or are you just the reader?" And I really love that, because I feel as though that is sort of what Dylan did. I mean, it's a perfect example of somebody who didn't die with the music still in him, both literally and spiritually. It created something within him to pursue a dream and the truth of, I believe, who he was, to set himself free. And I think that's a very big thing, because we hold ourselves back. We're always looking for external permission. I think sometimes we unconsciously seek validation before fully showing up. I mean, I remember being in high school, you call your friends on the phone. Well, this is maybe a girl thing, but you call your friends, what are you going to wear tomorrow? Right? There were certain things that in those rites of passage, you asked for permission or looked for validation. You didn't want to stand out and be unique. And I think that now is the time. If this were my last month, why hang on to any of those fear-based timelines? I think it's time. There's no need for perfectionism and no need for judgment. And I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, first and foremost, I have to comment on this wonderful statement you made about passing away with the music still in him. I think that's a great way of thinking of things. How many people pass away with their dreams and goals and desires, unachieved? Not even a bit of energy, an investment of energy put in that direction, and I'm always telling people that, sometimes it falls on deaf ears, but I'm always saying, it's if you're not doing now what you really want to be doing, you're not now doing it, and then there's aspects of your happiness and your excitement, your passion, your joy, your love that you're leaving on the sidelines, right? How many people leave, ideas? As somebody in the business world, there was all this. Somebody said once, there are multi-million-dollar ideas just rotting on the floor, or in the trash, because people have an idea. It's a great idea. It's something they're excited and passionate about, but then they too quickly poo-poo the idea, develop doubts and fears, and decide to and say it can't work, and then they just throw it away. They don't even write it down in a notebook. They just literally just let it go. And it could have been one of the major, we all have these tangents. We have choices, and we've talked about this on the show where we have, every choice you make has a consequence, and every choice is a timeline, a different timeline for you in your life. And if choosing one timeline over the other, you decided to make this choice, versus that choice, and it takes you in a completely different direction. And kudos to him for being able to sit down and recognize after a cosmic 2x4 that he experienced, which is kind of what we refer to as somebody who's hit by a certain challenge in their life that's big enough to thrust you in a different direction, to pivot you, right? To make you think twice about where you are, maybe even 3 or 4 times, and then decide, boom, I'm moving in that direction. And it makes you jump into the unknown. That's really what I'm saying. Something so challenging in your life, health-related or otherwise, a lot of times they manifest as health-related issues, and to kind of shock you into thinking about what's really important in your life. And how many times do people, and maybe some of our listeners here, you get so caught up in work, you get caught up in making money, doing things that are buying this thing, that thing, buying another thing that you really don't need, but you want it because it makes you feel good to buy it, and it just sits on a shelf and collects dust. How many times, and I tell people all the time, I say, it's all about experiences. So you said, if you had a month left to live, what would you be doing? Right. Well, I think anybody can simply say I'd be on a plane going somewhere. I mean, that's what I would be doing, on a plane going somewhere with Sandy to see something that we, hadn't seen before, to experience something that we hadn't experienced. And it's really, really so cool. I was just reading an article about Arizona, and this is a place that back in the 90s, early 90s, I went to. I went to Flagstaff, which is a really beautiful little city.
I've been there. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, cliff dwellings. They're cliff dwellings, tons of ancient Indian cliff dwellings that are really, really cool. There's the crater that's 2.5 hours outside of Flagstaff, Monument Valley. But the article was really about looking at the stars, and it was because there's a really major observatory down there. So think about it for a second. I'm going to tell you, I'm dovetailing into something that I did last night. I was walking Cobalt at about 10 o'clock at night, and I like to walk them late before we go to bed. And because number one, it's quiet, it's dark outside, there's nobody around, and it's very peaceful. And I can look up at the stars, and I can spot, Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. But the last couple of nights I'd been seeing these 2 stars, very bright in the sky, that I had never seen before. And they were in the western sky, based on where I am in Central Time Zone. Somewhere around, if I had to look at a watch, it'd be 8 o'clock, okay? Somewhere about that, between 8 and 8:30. And it'd be up there, and I 2 nights ago I saw these 2 stars, and I said, what are they? So last night, I got out my phone while I'm walking, and I have my little planet app, and it shows me the night sky and where all the planets are and the sun, and it shows me the horizons and everything. And I found Ursa Major, and because I looked up and I saw Ursa Major, and I said, okay, I got to go a little bit to the southeast, and I'll see these 2 stars. But you know what they were? Ursa Minor. They were the bottom of the bucket of Ursa Minor, of the Little Dipper. We've been talking about the Little Dipper for ever, and I can't see this thing in the sky. Well, there's so much ambient light down here now because there's been so much building that we've probably lost about 20-30% of what we could see in the sky, but here on the beach. However, I was like, wow, that is what this thing is. I took a picture of a screenshot of the planetary app, and just so I could kind of see and go into Sandy and say, look at this thing. This is the wonders of what you can do. When you just put your mind to it and I could have just walked the dog and just ignored the sky, right? But somehow I have this fascination with astronomy. I have a fascination with the stars and the planets and archaeology and these other things. And I know that our listeners have these interests as well. The question is, do you take time throughout your day, during any day of the week, to take a moment and sideline yourself and actually pursue whatever it is? Take it to its nth degree that particular day. like this, I look up at the sky all the time, but, I make it a point to look up at the sky every night when I walk. That's one of the reasons why I love walking that late, right? It's not like I'm watching something on a movie and I just got to do whatever. When it's over, we go for a walk, and he loves it. Put his little harness on. But it's not only about him. It's about me being able to just kind of calm out. Well, as you say, peace out before I go to bed, right?
Yeah,
peace out on that
true.
walk before I go to bed. Right, it's true. I peace out. I look up at the stars, and I look at the moon, and I'm fascinated by them. And I have a telescope here. I set it up sometimes in the wintertime. This is the best time to see the stars and the planets because of humidity. But I like to see, the moon when it's crescent, see the planets, see Mars, see Neptune, see Uranus, see all these planets you can see from with a generally decent telescope. And it's fascinating to see that. Fascinating to see that, it reminds you that you're a speck of sand on the beach, right?
It does.
And that what you think is really, really important, you're just a speck of sand on a 1,000-mile beach. That's all you are. You're just, and we have to, we bring the joy to our lives. We bring the happiness. We bring the value to our lives. We're the ones who have we have this choice. Unlike any other creature on the planet, we as human beings have the choice to be able to decide what is of value to us, and then pursue that. What do we want to invest in? What do we want to invest our time in? Do we want to, as you said earlier, do we want to be the reader or the writer? Right? You want to read somebody, or you want to write it? Do you want to create it? We all have that power within us. What did you say last week? I think we were talking. You said the energy that creates worlds is within all of us. Do you remember that?
True. I do.
And if you just take that statement on its own and you put it up against, couple it to, you've got a month to live. Now, think about that. It brings a different dimension to how you would approach that month, in my view. If you knew you had the ability to create worlds, what would you really, really do? And it's, there've been a myriad of movies of people who've done whatever. Some go back and see people that they think that they've wronged or whatever, and they apologize or they ask for forgiveness. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can do that. I leave the past in the past. Everything was a learning lesson. It's a lesson for me to learn from. And as long as I've learned my lesson, I don't need to go back and revisit it. However, the beauty of moving forward, of blossoming, of looking at a book I haven't sat down and read, and then going and finding a place on the beach to read it for a couple of hours. I believe it or not, people visit this beach from all over the country. The beach that I live a mile and a quarter from. And I'm sorry to say that in the last 12 months, I haven't been on it one time. Not once. Because I've had other interests. Right?
I
other things that took up my time. And, I enjoy the ions that come from the water, negative ions. I benefit from all of that. The sea breeze, the salt breeze, which pretty much corrodes everything. I benefit from all of that, right? I benefit from sitting on a golf course and watching people play, but I play once a week, and sometimes I don't play for 2 or 3 weeks. However, I enjoy the living vicariously through these other people who are playing, realizing that I have something that's a little bit more valuable to me, a little more exciting and passionate to me, that I love, that I know I'm enjoying doing. So I don't have any guilt about not playing. I'm playing tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. So, I have, this is the way we live it, without guilt. Can you live life? I'm taking a little tangent here, but can you look at your life today and say, I don't have any guilt about something I'm not doing. Right? And in your month, you wouldn't want to have that.
Yeah, and you never know what you create now, how it will impact generations. And I just want to circle back to, there's a couple things that you said, Michael, and one of it, because I do feel like this is a message from our guides, because I saw this morning and I had no idea. So this morning, when I was looking through the different feed that I tune into, there was a little short, and they were speaking about Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon, who basically established the Mason-Dixon line. But it wasn't really about the Mason-Dixon line. Yes, it was, but they were astronomers. And they put a stone right here in Pennsylvania called the Stargazer Stone, and they were mapping out the stars. And they based it. This is before the advent of GPS or anything else. They did astronavigation. I think it was like 1763, around that time. And that's how they mapped out the boundary line between Pennsylvania and Maryland. And I thought, wow. And as you were speaking about what would you do, you would travel. And I thought, here I am in Pennsylvania. It would be really cool to travel there and just be in the energy of that Stargazer Stone. I can actually go there. It's not that far. It's something that would mean something to me. And as you are, you're constantly fascinated by the stars, and it connects you with that time in history. And I think that there's lots of things. I mean, maybe people don't have the money to travel overseas or see some of the places, but there are things right in your backyard that are there to discover. Last week when I had my car repaired and I didn't have anybody to pick me up or drive me, I thought, well, you know what, I'll walk down the street. I'll go over to the hospital and just sit in the air conditioning and do some work on the computer, which is what I did. And while I was walking, I'm walking around and I'm seeing all this amazing art, murals on the buildings and ceramics. I'm thinking, what is this? And I'm walking like out of curiosity because there's no signs. There is mosaics, there's pottery, there's all kinds of really cool art on buildings. And so I Google the address and I find out that it's actually a world-famous sculptor who lives in Uptown. Doesn't have any signs outside. You can actually do tours of his art in the buildings and the projects. But had I not been able to drive, I've driven by that street so many times, never took a Segway. It took me walking through an alley to notice something right in my backyard. And it really made me think about things. And then as you were speaking and you were talking about things that are unwritten, and then I thought about when I went to see James Von Prague for the very first time, and he played that song Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, and I think it speaks so much volume to what we're speaking about. And the first line is, I'm unwritten, I'm just beginning. It's a blank page that is before you. I don't know all of the lyrics, but I remember hearing that for the very first time and hearing the words, the sun illuminating, the words that you cannot find, and reaching for something and feeling the rain on your skin. And every time I hear that song, it elevates me. It brings forth something within my soul to want to achieve more, do more, whatever it is. I just sort of let go of whatever limiting beliefs that I have. And it's sort of about granting myself permission to be free. Be free. And that's what lights me up. I was listening to a horoscope about my sign today, and that's one of the things that is really key for me. I don't like to be controlled. I am a very free spirit, and I do best when I'm allowed. Even I give myself permission to be free, and I don't make any apologies about that. And I think it's because the joy is in the journey itself. And if I get moved to want to explore something, I'm not waiting for anybody to do it. I'll just pick up and go. I'm happy to do that. And I think that each one of us, I think as we grow, we have that opportunity to fully live and love who we are. And I think that's one of the things that Dylan explored. He really started to live life through the lens of being fully him and being open to whatever dreams, being present and embracing all of his vulnerabilities, and then showing up as his authentic self with any imperfections. And that's sort of, I think, one of the keys, takeaways that I got from him, most definitely, was show up. be authentic,
Yeah.
be imperfect,
Yeah.
be all those things, because your time is too precious for you to be anybody else. And it's the ultimate foundation of self-love. And we speak about that a lot on this show. And it's not always easy to overcome that inner critic. I think that we are hardest on ourselves. If we listen to the words, how we speak about ourselves sometimes to others, that, well, I've got imperfect knees or whatever. I don't know. You pick one aspect of what it is. And for me right now, it's humid. And so my hair wants to do what it wants to do. And I found myself saying something. When I dropped off my car this morning, he said, "Your hair's still wet." And I said, "Yeah, because I have to let it dry. Naturally, if I use a blow dryer," I said, "I look like a witch." And then I thought to myself, well, that wasn't a very kind thing to say, right?
Yeah, I look like a witch. That's interesting. It's funny, though.
Yeah, but it's funny,
But you
right?
know you.
I mean,
but you are being your authentic self. You're being, you're making a little joke and jest about yourself, and we're not all perfect. It's just you're being honest, and maybe you could say I my hair generally is a mess if I use a blow dryer, which gives a sort of a visual connotation that's pretty funny, and I love that. I love it. So for you, it's the question I start thinking is how do you actually achieve that point, or at least anywhere close to where Dylan is, without having had the experience of that he had, which is dying for 5 minutes and having them break all your ribs trying to keep you alive, right? I mean, that's the thing that I'm always thinking is how do you get there without the trauma?
I think what my opinion is, Michael, and and I think it's because you and I fill our lives with so much of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, and it's the art of allowing. The art of allowing and the appreciation of the incredible journey that we took to get right here, and allowing ourselves to appreciate that journey, our own unique expression, that we allow there's whatever it is, allowing ourselves to be that true self, and allowing the universe to sort of say, I remember Abraham saying the universe doesn't give you what you ask for, it gives you what you demand in your vibration. And I think that in allowing, so I find myself when I'm not allowing and I'm not in flow, I'm attracting things that are not exactly what I want. And I caught myself last week when I was in this whirlwind, this vortex of someplace I would rather not be. I had to literally stop myself. And that's why I was so grateful for Dylan's music, because that helped me. And I still am a human being. And, they always say you're a human being having a spiritual experience, or your spirit having a human experience.
Spiritual, the other way around. I agree with you. Listen,
I didn't feel very spiritual last week, right? I didn't. I was caught up in whatever.
Yeah, well, as somebody told me recently, I might live in the 5D, but I visit the 3D world often, and the 3D world is it's going to the store to buy groceries, or going to the store to buy food for your pets. It's being in a traffic jam. That's the 3D world. Or it's somebody calls you and they're having a dramatic moment. That's the 3D world, right? That we live in, that we agreed to be here and deal with in a positive way. Although we don't remember a lot that we're supposed to deal with it in a positive way. That we're supposed to use those experiences to grow and to continue to evolve as humans, non-physical beings in a physical body, right? And I think about this a lot. When we as a non-physical being, we made a choice to come experience the physical, to feel, touch, taste, sense, intuit, to be able to connect and look somebody straight in the eye. Wow, what an opportunity. If you start thinking of it from that level, what an opportunity we have to actually do that. to connect with people, and to actually, and along with that comes all the little personality garbage that is propagated by the media, a lot of the Hollywood, a lot of the in workplace environments, and all these things, right? That's really what we also have to. That's what comes along with it, and we have to navigate that. And the chore for many people, because I know a lot of people that do consider it a chore, is that navigation. And I like to turn it around and say, I'm creating this environment, and the fact that the frequency that I'm resonating is attracting to me those things that I do or don't want. And it's true, you cannot solve the same problem. You can't solve a problem with the same frequency that created it. That's sort of a take on Einstein, but that is really the truth. You cannot create. You can't be in this frequency wishing for it to be in that frequency, which is, believe it or not, how I grew up. And I know it's the way you grew up too. We grew up thinking that, all we do is we wish it, and we say we want it, and we hope for it, and we dream about it, and we'll get it, right? You have to, or you look at a picture. It's kind of like the whole. We've moved way past dream boards. Dream boards are that we've moved way past that, and that used to be the norm. Have a dream board and focus on it and see it in your mind's eye and all of that. Well, that's okay, as long as you're not telling yourself I'll never get it. You can see it in your mind's eye, but if you're always saying I doubt whether I'm going to get that, or I'm fearing that I won't get it, if that's your mindset, then that's the frequency you're resonating, which is pushing whatever it is you want further and further out, further and further away from you, right? Because the world I grew up in focused on the how. Big focus on the how. Big focus on how you're going to get it done. Write down every little nuance. Start at A, go to Z, and then do all those things, and you'll have it. That path, linear path, is no longer viable in the consciousness that we are now vibrating from. It's no longer viable. It's no longer relevant. We've moved way past that. And now if anybody goes on YouTube and starts looking at Bashar or Abraham Hicks or anybody else, everybody's talking about the same thing. It's frequency. It's vibration. It's what you're telling yourself. It's are you fear and doubt? Are you vibrating fear and doubt and lack? Or are you in an abundance mindset where there's abundance of everything, and you're happy and you're joyful and you're excited and passionate about what you're doing in every moment? Is that what you're doing? Because I've come to understand that, wow, it's even easier than writing things down and writing all the how and wherefores down, and if I do all these things, I'll get it. It's easier than that now. We have the ability now to do a whole much more than that. We have the ability to put ourselves. It's not just seeing it in our mind's eye; it's feeling it. And as Bashar was saying, and this is the most fascinating thing to me, is that those things that you're excited and passionate about have relevance. They may not be. You may not see them relevant to a goal or dream you have. However, that excitement and passion raises your frequency. It puts you in the frequency of what you want. Right. And so they are relevant. They're absolutely relevant. You may see, my out swimming in the ocean, being on the beach every day doesn't make me any money, right? No, but it has relevance because you are doing something that you're excited, passionate about, and you elevate your frequency to that level, and that frequency is what helps manifest the thing you really want.
You're right. And that's exactly what Bashar would say. He said, you're shifting to versions of reality that match your frequency. Exactly. So if you be who you are, and that will be reflected back to you. And sometimes, it can be intimidating. But as you look at the fact that we are these infinite beings, and we act like we're not. I mean, I see so much information now about the cells of the body and the transmissions of the heart and just the energy that we emit. I mean, science is catching up to the spirituality. And I don't care how it comes in. I'm just glad that it's here. I'm not caught up in the minutia of any of it. But I think that as we start to embody and recognize that we are already somebody beautiful and magnificent, and we can create and match that frequency of that which we desire. It allows us to sort of embody that without having to go through that near-death experience that Dylan had to go through. But I think that there are some things as we sort of embrace each moment as sacred. I think there are things that some of us, it's like you're waiting for the right time to do it. How many people, as you said, are waiting? Well, when I get X, Y, Z together. And Sarah Blakely was Spanx. She knew what she needed to do, and she just kind of was like, okay, this is an idea, and I'm just going to bring it in. And she just created a whole different world for herself based on that. And I think that when you are doing something, there were certain things in her process that maybe weren't perfect, and she didn't know what it was going to look like, but she forgave herself for the things that she didn't know. She didn't say, oh, my gosh, I'm so stupid. I don't even know why I'm trying to do this, and give up. She just kept going. She kept moving. And I think that that's part of what we need to do as sovereign beings, so much so, that as we become these creators that we are meant to be, we allow, we receive, and we let go of the pressures, and just we are that channel for life to flow through us, and we can create effortlessly and bring in that which we want. And it's just that allowing.
Sure. Absolutely. Allowing, a big word. You have to not only allow, but also see yourself worthy of receiving. That's a big one, because that, we can, I get people, when I'm on the golf course, people will make a fantastic shot, and then they'll go, I can't believe I did that, as if they weren't worthy. They didn't feel themselves worthy of actually experiencing that for themselves, of achieving that level, right? And you have to say, I'm worth that. So grateful. I have that talent. I can do this. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. You just saw validation. Why would you doubt it, right? You experienced the validation of you being, and then they'll turn around and go, I don't think I'll ever do that again. You go, wait, hold on a second. You could do it. You could do it in the next 10 minutes on the next hole. It's like people get into their own way. I see it all the time. Step into their own way. They know they're in the flow, but then they doubt that they're in the flow, and then they get out of the flow because now they fear that the flow won't last long. It's like, hang on a second, this is way too mind bending, right? It's easy, it's simple. You get into the flow with what you're excited and passionate about, and you let that spill over into every aspect of your life, including your goals, your dreams, what it is that you have, your intentions for that day. And as it's not rocket science. The path to what you're looking for has been written over and over by all of these people. And it's step 1, step 2, step 3. Just basically do those things. And they don't require you to go to university. They don't require you to experience any pain. They don't cost any money. And they can be done at any given time. All you have to do is dedicate the time to it. Dedicate the time to it, to doing that thing you love, the thing you're passionate about, the thing that excites you, even though it has nothing to do with your right livelihood, right? It can make your right livelihood actually even better. And that's the thing that I told many people. You don't, if you're not liking what you do, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, your perception of what you're doing doesn't match the level of excitement that you actually have, right? It has to match your expectation. And so for people who are doing something that they don't really love, I say one of two things. Either go find something new or find the joy in what you're doing. Shift your perception about what you're doing. For people who sit around and who've gotten into the world of calling people and talking to people or in a face-to-face situation, having to meet people they've never met before and communicate with them, right? And they say, I can't do that. I could never do that. I'm so afraid to do that. And I'm like, hang on a second. What about you're seeing it differently? Instead of you being the one that you think you're less than in that relationship, why don't you see yourself as strong and giving that other person, having the opportunity to leave that person better than you found them? That's what you're doing all day. Oh, really? Yeah, you're actually sharing your joy, your love, and your passion for life. Maybe not what you're doing, but for life, right? And maybe think about the thing you really love doing and let that beautiful feeling seep into what you're doing, and let the other people who you're meeting see that excitement and passion on your face and go, wow, you really love life, right? That's connection, the joy of connection. It's contagious, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, you got those two choices, those two roads, right? Those two different paths that you can take. And that doesn't mean that the next thing that you do is going to be the thing that's going to light your fire. It can. Again, it's all how you see it. And right. I've been in jobs like that, positions that there are certain aspects I didn't like about them, and that I didn't like, and I simply found myself that I was focusing on those things, and they were a minor part of it all. And I just shifted my focus and saw myself differently within the context of what I was doing. And I was bringing joy and to people's lives. I was alleviating fears and worries, their fears, worries, and doubts. I was giving them peace of mind. And that's really, that brought me joy just to get out of bed to go to work, because I knew I was going to find more people to give peace of mind to. Yeah? So.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think, Michael, I'm glad you brought up the word connection, because I think that's what Dylan found, that as he went through this experience, there was a new level of profound human connection, things that maybe he hadn't observed before. And again, it has to go along with the lines of being gratitude for his family, gratitude for his husband, gratitude for the paramedics who saved him. And when he went and had the experience with Coldplay, it wasn't just the band. It was all of the individuals that he met in the experience of being in New Zealand that shifted who he was. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And we had Mick Clegg on, and one of the things that he shared that really impacted me was about the power of listening and connecting with others without having any agenda. And if you remember, Michael, Mick said the real power doesn't come from pushing, it comes from listening to your body, listening to your soul, listening to the present moment. And that insight is really at the core of what we're exploring today and what Dylan inspired. If this was the final chapter, would we listen more deeply to ourselves? Would we stop trying to fix and just let ourselves be? And if you think back, Mick talked about the stillness that elite athletes and humans tap into. It was a space where clarity, strength, and intuition live. And so I think that in the listening, we are creating an awareness and a presence, and being truly present with ourselves and others is probably one of the most transformative tools that we have. So if this were the last chapter, would you take more time to listen to yourself, to others, and to life? And I think that when you have a situation, and if anything, the conversation that we had with Dylan last week gave me a profound new appreciation and another set of eyes. So although maybe I'm not embracing the final chapter in my life, it is allowing me to be more present, to observe more. I'm being more mindful of my thoughts and the world around me. It's sort of like you become a witness for what's unfolding around you, and then to do that without judgment. And that's a big one. I've been speaking to a few people about that exact thing. When you ask, or without even expectations, that as you're changing, it's sort of like being an impartial witness to life's flow. You're changing, and you can't expect other people to change along with you. They're on their own timeline. They have their gifts and the things that they. And so sometimes, like as you shifted from your one job, some of those people fall away, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't care about them. You'll always be connected to them in this web of life, but it's just sometimes it's time to grow and explore new horizons. But you always have that love.
And you have to let yourself do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have to let yourself do that. It's true. Yeah, I agree. That's the life. I love this the conversation we're having right now is the kind of thing. It's the kind of conversation I have with many people, and even in my own podcasts and the other things that I do, I get people who are brought into my life, and they're being challenged by something that, in one way or another, I immediately recognize as a stepping stone in terms of a shift or evolution. It's there for a reason, but they're caught up in the thing, right? They're caught up in the thing that's happening. And what was wonderful about Dylan was that he was able to work through the process of that he was given, okay, that happened to him, and come out the other side with this profound gratitude and forgiveness and joy and happiness that and a sense of deeper connection with the people that were around him. All those people were supposed to be there. All of them were supposed to be helping him. The question is, in that situation, what are you focused on? Are you focused on the fact that you had this time taken out of your life? Which side of the coin do you look at? Are you looking at? And I know some people who look at the side of the coin where it's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Now I'm going to be this or I'm going to do that, and whatever gifts you have, maybe they were making a lot of money as a mortgage broker, and maybe they're like fearful of not being able to do that, and so they, even though they didn't like it, it was profitable for them, right? Because we live in a day and age where money tends to be the major decision maker, right? Whether or not you how much money does it pay, instead of who can I meet, how can I connect, what is this here for me for? Why is this here? Because that's the question I'm always asking. Why did this happen? Why did this thing occur today? And what could that mean for me or the other person? It's about that deep sense of connection and the what you bring to the table. I told somebody the other day something we talked about on the show. You're either of service to yourself or you're of service to other people. That's basically it. There's two. That's it. You can split the whole world into one half or the other. One thing or the other. And being of service to others is simply, in many cases, just a smile. It could be a warm hello. It could be a warm thank you. It could be something as that simple as a smile that you in terms of your engagement with someone, and making them feel warm and liked or loved, right? Making them feel loved. That is being of service. It's giving your frequency. It's being able to share your positive frequency with other people. And we all know when we're in a room with low frequencies. We all know when we're engaged with low frequencies, or situations that we have inherited that emanated from low frequencies. From a lack of love, a lack of happiness, a lack of joy. And they were maybe greed-based or jealousy-based or in some way retribution-based or victim-based, whatever it is. We know when we're in those situations. And our mission is to step out of them, step away from them, to make sure that they don't impact our positive vibrations, our loving and joyful vibrations at all. That's in terms of connection. I would rather be I'm driven to situations, and I know you are too, where the people are freaked out. They're having a bad day, whatever, and we have a choice. We can make it worse by picking up on those energies and throwing them back and mirroring them back to them, or we can decide to create a shift and actually recognize that that person is in the throes of lower frequency 3D emotions, and that there's something grander for them that can occur, and maybe you're there to make sure that happens, that transition occurs. And wow, how different life is on a daily basis, not on a galactic basis, but just every day. We go to the store.
Absolutely.
We buy food. We encounter people, right? We have connection with people. And what are you bringing to the table? Are you bringing joy? Are you bringing happiness? Or are you bringing sadness and grief and fear and doubt and a bad thing that occurred to you? Is that what you're bringing to the table? Those energies, those emotions, which are counter to what your purpose is here as a human being, to lift others up.
Well, it's so true, Michael. And I think that's one of the gifts of that conversation with Dylan last week. I think for me, it was an invitation. It was sort of like, okay, am I living fully today? Am I being my authentic self? What no longer serves me? And if it no longer serves me, can I practice enough self-love? What is one act that I can do that's loving to myself, even if it's just getting an ice cream cone or postponing something that dusting. Say, for instance, it was dusting. I mean, dust, I always remember my grandmother saying that, dust will always be there, but the time that you have to share with somebody isn't always going to be there. And so it can wait. It can wait. It's not really that important. And sometimes we put in this little minutia stuff, and we don't have to. And so if this were the final chapter, or I had 1 month to live, or I was in a situation, I think that it allows me, that conversation with Dylan allows me the gift of being more present. I think each one of us, our souls came here with a mission, and part of that mission is to enjoy being you. So you need to follow what lights you up. It's not being selfish. I always say that it's being self-full. And to follow that deepest joy and recognizing that I am free to be all that I want. And I say that to each and every one of you, that you can live fully. Just be you. And whatever it is that you choose to do, it's your journey. And explore the depths of everything that is your heart's passion, just like Dylan did, just like Michael does. I mean, you do, and cherish the days, cherish the people that are with you, and connect with those that you love. And that's what this show is all about, connecting to that oneness and to that magnificent human spirit that you have. I'm so grateful to you, Michael, because you inspire me, and you're always willing to play and explore. And and I'm sure after we're done with this conversation, I'm going to reflect on what we shared, because it does. Yeah. And
this show resets me just as much as it resets, I'm sure, our you and our guests here on PRN FM. It resets me. It resets my thinking, and that's what last week's show with Dylan did. It reset me. It reset, and it got me thinking again about my life and how I can further shift and evolve what I'm doing and thinking what I'm thinking, and my level of connection with people and friends and family. I mean, it does that, And thank you so much for those kind words. And do not leave yourself out of the conversation. What you described was every bit you, okay, in terms of authenticity, which is why we hang out and we do this. And for those of you out there who are listening, if you know somebody who could use this show, who could use a listen to this show, or even last week's show, especially with Dylan, turn them on to the podcast, and share an episode with them, and get them also their frequencies buzzing in a different direction as well. That's what this is about. Connect to Love is about connecting to love, and that means sharing. And we'd love for you to do that.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for the time that I share with you, Michael, and for all that you bring. It really, truly, it's another inspiring conversation. And I'm just so amazed by all of the things that come through and unfold. It just, because we do this completely unscripted, and
it's true.
It comes from the heart. It does. It comes from the heart, and it's something that I cherish, and it's just so great. I'm so grateful. So until next time,
love it.
Well, peace
Bye-bye.
out. Keep connecting to love. All right. Thank you.
Yes, you do. Bye.